This tutorial is just another way to do a design, name design. So I'm going to click on my dashboard, create new design. And then the first thing I always have to do is check that grid, go to edit grid and change it to inches, because that's what we use to measure in the United States for the most part. And then where the snap grid is, it's a good idea to change that to a smaller number. 1/32 or 1/64 allows you to move things in smaller increments. Okay, so we're going to do a keychain. I'm going to lower this down to, see if it'll, oops, I made that really skinny. Let's undo that. Okay, I'm going to lower the height of this down to about 0.2 is what I think is a good size to work with. And then I'm going to extend it out wider. And then I had the thought that putting a little round edge on it, you could actually just even use a cylinder just to kind of make the corners rounded. If I click my top view, and this thing over here switches to a flat view so I can make sure that it's lined up exactly. Oops. Okay. So I'm doing this because I thought I would like to have kind of a rounded edge to my keychain. Now, the sides, when you click down on a circle, it's actually an object that's composed of 20 sides. If you increase that number, it makes a more round object, okay? Now, I'm going to make another one of those. So while it's clicked, I'm going to press Control-C, Control-V, move it over to this side. And then I'm going to click all three of them, Shift, and select all of them. And I'm going to grab my Align tool and align them up in the middle so that it is on the edge there. And I can see this, I must have made, I'm going to have to redo this. My circle is just a little bit smaller, you can see. So I guess I made this a little bit bigger. So I'm going to make sure it's also the same size. So it got just a little bit bigger. So I'm going to take that back down to 1 inch. And then just to make sure they're lined up again, I'm going to select them all, align, and go to the middle again. So that way I've got just, I'm going to make a single shape. So now I'm going to click both of these, this one, Shift, this one, grabbed the wrong one. Click the cylinder, hold down Shift, click the other cylinder, and now I can lower them down to the same height. So I'm going to click that number and make it 0.2. So they're exactly the same. Now I'm going to highlight all of them and I'm going to join them together. So now I kind of have this other shape and I like that it's rounded. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and grab I'm going to actually make another one of these, Control-C, Control-V, and I'm going to turn it into a hole, and I'm going to click Shift and grab the corner, and I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller, but I've got to make it tall enough that I can see it on top of the other piece. So I'm just kind of making a little divot in. And let's see, I'm going to grab Shift again and scale it down. And let's go ahead and select both of them, grab my Align tool, align them in the middle this way, align them in the middle this way. And I don't know why that is making it not uniform, but I think maybe I'm okay with that. If I wanted to, I could just stretch this a little bit longer this way, and then I'll grab both of them again, go to that Align tool again, align them in the middle, align them in the middle. Okay. Now, I don't want this to go all the way through. Right now, it would go all the way to the bottom. And I don't want it to do that. I want it to just I'm going to lift it up, and you can see the kind of dotted lines there. So I'm actually going to lift it up using this arrow so it's about halfway there. And now, and you don't have to do this, you could just leave yours flat, that's fine too. Now I'm going to highlight both of them and group them together. So now I just have this little step down, and I just kind of like the look of that. Okay, if you say, oh, I don't want it to be so deep, you can undo. I can do the same thing, click on it, maybe raise it up so it's just going in just ever so slightly, and then back to the same thing. Click Shift, make sure you've selected both of them, join it together. So that's just kind of a fun way to make a little bit of texture difference in there. And now I'm going to add my daughter's name. So I'm going to grab the text tool and put it on there. And if this doesn't come down automatically, you just, while it's selected, and change the color so we can just have it show up a different color. Click down and click on the text part and change what you want it to be. So I wanted to make one with my daughter's name, and you can change the font. There's just a couple options here if you want to try something different. And then I'm going to put that right on there, and it's too big, so I'm going to shrink it down, put it in, put it in there. Okay. And then I'm going to, I might make that even just a little bit smaller, because I want to fit like a little shape on the side, okay? If I want it to be exactly in the middle, I'm going to select Shift, select both of them, go to that Align tool, click the middle. I know the first time you use the Align tool, it seems weird, but once you kind of keep practicing with it, you'll see that it just becomes easier and easier, okay? That's way too big, so I'm going to click on it and shrink it back down so that it's even with the other part. And it goes through all the way, and that's fine. Okay, now I'm going to add another shape. I could put a star. I think there were some other shapes here. I can't remember. Oh, you could get really crazy and use some of this stuff, but I thought I saw a heart on here. There we go. So I'm going to stick a heart on there, and I'm going to hold down Shift so I can resize it together. Put it on here. And again, I'm going to make sure it looks like it made it exactly the size that I wanted. So I got lucky there. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now I need to have some sort of ring on it. So I'm going to grab this torus, or the tube is another good one. Or even have the thought of just clicking the letter D could make a really good ring. So when you click on this, there's a whole bunch of different things that you can do with these controls here to change the size of this. You can change the thickness of the tube. You can change the number of steps and make it look a little more geometric, which is kind of fun. You can change the sides to make it more like solid instead of round. So you can totally play around with that. But if you accidentally lift it up, make sure you click the letter D to put it back on the flat part of the plane. Some people will put it in the middle like this. You don't want to do that because the printer can't print in midair. It actually can make little supports, but when you break them off, the back of that will be really bumpy. So you want to make sure you click D to put it down. So, gosh, I kind of like the look of that. I think I'm actually going to leave it just like that. Now I need to roll it all up into one piece. So I'm going to highlight all of them just by drawing a square around it, click and hold, and then group it all together. Okay. And then it does not matter what color you have it, but let's say I know I'm going to print it in purple. I can take a look at that to kind of see what it'll look like. Maybe a lighter purple so I can see it better. Okay. And so that's what my keychain's going to look like.